Okay, so have you ever felt like you're just talking to a complete brick wall? Like, no matter what you say, the other person simply isn't hearing you. And a totally normal chat just suddenly spirals into a stressful argument. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going on a bit of a mission. We are going to diagnose and, more importantly, cure the absolute most common, yet highly toxic, communication errors that we all make every single day. And we'll be pulling from some incredible psychology and professional communication strategies to do it. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for the explainer. We're going to cover 1. The invisible rules of communication. 2. The most toxic communication mistakes. 3. Blaming and the alarm system. 4. Constructive, not destructive feedback. And finally, 5. The golden rules of healthy communication. All right, starting with part 1, the invisible rules of communication. You see, to actually fix our communication, we first have to understand what it really is. And it's so much more than just moving your mouth and talking. According to communication scholars, it's an intricate, linear process. It's like a puzzle. You're coding a message, sending it out, having the receiver decode it, and then waiting for them to respond. But the end goal here isn't just to make noise, right? It's actually a fundamental human need, literally right up there with breathing air and drinking water. We communicate to make our shared world meaningful. But if that code is broken anywhere along the way, the meaning is entirely lost. And this brilliantly illustrates how the whole thing branches out into two main paths. So first, you have your verbal elements. That's the actual language we speak and the tone of voice we use. But then you have this massive nonverbal side. This encompasses everything from bodily contact and how we utilize our physical space, to facial expressions and body movements. And here's the crazy part. A failure in any of these branches, even just a slight unintentional shift in your posture, can completely collapse your entire message. Which brings us to part 2, the most toxic communication mistakes. So there is this massive myth out there that we've got to debunk right now. We often think that the person who talks the absolute most, the chatterbox of the room, is the best communicator. Well, the source material completely shatters this idea. The reality? The strongest communicators actually listen way more than they speak, and they react much slower. True connection doesn't come from just dominating the airspace. It comes from deeply, genuinely listening to the person sitting right in front of you. Let's rapid fire through some of these really toxic sins of conversation. And honestly, ask yourself if you do any of these. First up, monologuing. Basically holding the microphone endlessly without letting anyone else get a word in edgewise. Second, acting like an unread spam email. Constantly talking about and praising yourself. Next is making broad generalizations, like saying you always do this. Then, diving headfirst into highly sensitive topics in brand new environments where you just haven't built that trust yet. And finally, the classic, interrupting the speaker. Are you guilty of monopolizing your conversations? Now, if you actually want a guaranteed recipe for a total communication breakdown, here is the step-by-step process. Step 1, simply stop listening actively and just start planning what you're going to say next. Step 2, suppress your own emotions or totally ignore the feelings of the other person. And step 3, throw in some negative body language, like a good eye roll or a mocking smile. The sources point out something incredibly profound here. Responding to someone's genuine thoughts with mocking body language isn't just a simple communication error. It's really a failure of humanity. It destroys the absolute foundation of respect. Let's move on to section 3, blaming and the alarm system. Let's just pause for a second and think about this. Why do we completely shut down to criticism? Why is it that perfectly rational, super intelligent people suddenly put their hands over their ears and stop listening the very second they feel accused? Well, it's not just stubbornness. It's literally biology. As the research shows, negative or blaming feedback is perceived by your brain as an actual social threat. When you attack someone's character, their brain's alarm system, the amygdala, instantly kicks in. Cortisol, which is the stress hormone, spikes. And as a result, their focus just drops off a cliff and their physical ability to listen is temporarily disabled. So when you use destructive communication, you are literally triggering a biological defense mechanism in the other person's brain. They're no longer hearing you, they're just trying to survive the attack. So how do we hack this? How do we bypass that biological alarm system? Check out this stark contrast. Destructive you language, like saying you never do anything right, immediately sounds the alarm. But constructive I language, like saying this situation makes me feel upset, completely bypasses the amygdala's defenses. By focusing on how you feel rather than attacking what they did, I language prevents the listener from getting defensive at all. It keeps the communication channel wide open. Let's see how this builds perfectly into section 4, constructive, not destructive feedback. Giving feedback is totally an art form, and the words you choose change absolutely everything. A toxic approach uses absolute words, right? Things like "you always do this." The sources explain that this acts as a sort of character assassination. You're permanently labeling the person. Instead, a constructive approach focuses purely on the specific behavior, saying, "let's plan together so we don't miss the deadline again." By taking the target off their personality and putting it on the behavior, you completely open the door to real, actionable solutions. And here is another classic trap: the ego-driven, toxic comment. Even I could do this better. Sarcastic, superior little comments like this instantly destroy trust. They just breed resentment. Compare that to the learning-driven approach. How can we fix this together? That is a collaborative question. It shows you're on their team, fostering a mutual learning environment, instead of this weird master-servant dynamic. To make this completely foolproof, the sources provide this precise 4-step formula for giving feedback so it acts as a coaching tool, not a weapon. Step 1. Focus strictly on specific, observable behavior, not personality traits. Step 2. State your positive intent clearly. Let them know you're actually trying to help, not hurt. Step 3. Always offer a concrete alternative or a collaborative solution. And Step 4. Use active listening. Actually ask for their input. Turn the feedback from a one-way monologue into a two-way dialogue. And the impact of getting this right? It's huge. Stanford University's Dr. Carol Dweck perfectly anchors the strategy with her concept of the growth mindset. She states that constructive feedback increases an individual's belief that they can actually improve. And that belief directly translates into more effort, deeper commitment, and much faster learning. So proper communication doesn't just pass along information, it literally builds people up. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the golden rules of healthy communication. So the crucial point is summarized perfectly right here in this matrix, giving us direct solutions to our worst habits. If your bad habit is interrupting, the impact is that the speaker feels deeply disrespected. Your immediate solution? Practice silent, active listening. If you tend to make assumptions, you're just causing unnecessary defensiveness. The fix there is to ask direct, open questions to clarify. And if you try communicating under stress, you are inevitably going to lead the conversation into a massive misunderstanding. The solution? Step away. Just wait for a calm environment before you speak. Let's just distill all of this down to the core principles of every single healthy interaction. Number 1, be completely natural. People can spot fake behavior from a mile away. Number 2, lead with empathy so you can truly understand their perspective. Number 3, speak clearly and simply. Remember, throwing in complex jargon doesn't make you sound smarter, it just confuses the person listening to you. Number 4, remain consistent in your words and actions to build a solid bedrock of trust. And above all else, never judge. As the sources highlight, judgment instantly silences the other person. Ultimately, people won't remember exactly what you said, but they are always going to remember how you made them feel. Which brings us to our final thought. I want to leave you with a question to really challenge the way you handle your daily conversations from this moment on. Ask yourself, are you communicating just to be right, just to win an argument and stroke your own ego? Or are you communicating to truly be understood and to understand the person stand in front of you? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this helps you build stronger, much more meaningful connections in your own life.